Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Going the Distance, the show where we talk about sports and music. On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about the New York Giants head coaching search. A quarterback could get traded in the offseason, I'll tell you who. Joe Burrow's return could be sooner than everybody thinks. Another week, some more Aaron Rodgers news. Josh Allen had the game of his year this year. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We had an ejection and a suspension in a game, so I'll tell you a little bit about that. A rookie quarterback started for the first time this season, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Antonio Brown saga that I talked about last week. Plus, I'm going to give you my Coach of the Year candidates so far. I've only got two, but I'm going to tell you a little who they are. And as always, the scores from last week, the predictions for next week, and the who we're listening to segment and what we're listening to. So let's jump into it. So first, let's talk about the New York Giants. As everybody that's been following the show knows, they fired Brian Daboll 2 weeks ago. Well, the interim head coach has only had one game, and he did better than Daboll, but the Giants still didn't win. But we're talking about the Giants here. But we're going to talk a little bit about some of the head coaching candidates that have come up, the names that have come up, like Mike McCarthy, former Green Bay Packers coach and former Dallas Cowboys coach. Now, I think that might be a good set because, Russell Wilson's in that system. I think Mike McCarthy and Russell Wilson would work good together. But, not a huge fan of the Giants. I like Mike, and kind of don't want to see him go there. Another name that's come up is Cliff Kingsbury, who is the offensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins or the Commanders. Now, I think that's a good fit, but Cliff Kingsbury already has a good thing going in Washington. So, like I've said in the past, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't take Kingsbury out of the Redskins and put him in a system like the Giants. And there's a few other ones like Matt Nagy, which I think would be a perfect fit. Take him out of the Kansas City Chiefs, and put him up there with Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, and just see how he does. He didn't do anything in Chicago. Why should we expect him to do anything with the Giants? And honestly, not a huge fan of Nagy. Everybody knows how I feel about the Giants. Send him up there. All right, moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about a quarterback that could be traded in the offseason. What quarterback is that, you might ask? That's none other than Mac Jones, y'all. Yes, Mac Jones, the guy who was starting in San Francisco for Brock Purdy. Well, Brock Purdy's back now. So, Mac has done so good that now his resume is looking like, hey, this guy can really play. Well, what teams need him? Well, I still see him as a backup. But Arizona might need one, even though I don't want him going to Arizona. Jacoby Brissett's doing good out there. Plus, Arizona might release Kyler Murray. And when that happens, I'll let you guys know. I'd say somewhere like Miami. I know Miami, the Dolphins have Tua, but Tua's not getting it done. Yeah, he's had a few good games, but I think those concussions, as I've said over and over again, and I know you guys get tired of hearing me say it, those concussions have really messed with Tua, and I just don't see him being the top-tier quarterback that everybody wanted him to be. So send Mac somewhere like Miami or Houston, because C.J. Stroud tends to hadn't come back from that concussion yet, and that's concerning. And I like C.J. Stroud, and I think DeMarco Ryans is doing a good job with Houston, even though their record this year isn't really reflecting it. The past two seasons, they've done really good, but this concussion has really messed up C.J. Stroud, where he's missing his third game, I think. with the concussion. So we're just going to say, I would say put Mac Jones in Houston. All right, before we go any farther, I've actually got some breaking news to talk about. Atlanta quarterback Michael Penix Jr. is out for the season with a torn ACL. Yes, Michael Penix Jr. is out with an ACL tear for the rest of the season, which means Kirk Cousins gets to start, which also means that's going to be the end of the Falcons this season. Michael Penix Jr. was doing good. Second year in that system. He has Raheem Morris. They were doing good things. Well, now you've got Kirk Cousins to come in, who now has something to prove. So, will Kirk do it? I don't think so, because he's gotten an attitude, and he wanted to be the starter. He signed all this money to be the Atlanta Falcons starter. Well, you couldn't get it done, Kurt, so you went to the backup. Well, now we get to see if you've learned anything and calm down. Just saying. Okay, some more breaking news we've got. The Browns have officially announced that Shadir Sanders is starting Sunday against the Raiders. Now, Shadir Sanders finished the game last week with the Browns because Dylan Gabriel went out with a concussion. And during that game that Shadir finished, his house got broken into, and I think they stole like $2,000 worth of stuff. So now Shadir is officially getting the start against the Raiders on Sunday. Browns at Raiders. Does that change anything? We'll see. I'll give you my prediction on the Browns-Raiders game a little bit later on. But how do y'all feel about Shadir starting? Honestly, I'm excited to see how he does. I've heard all this hype about him, and we'll just see how he does. Yeah, he played under his dad, Dion, in Colorado. And when Dion heard the news that Shadir was going to start, or Shadir had finished the game last week, he started crying, and it was emotional. And I get that because, his son is living his dream now. And that's great. But let's see how you do in a 60-minute game in all 4 quarters instead of just like a quarter and a half. Okay, moving on to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow hurt his toe earlier in the season, like week 2 or 3, and has been out. Well, then they tried the Browning experiment. That didn't work, so they signed Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's been getting it done, y'all, with the Bengals. He's been getting it done. And now Joe Burrow is shooting on a Thanksgiving return. When before they said his return wasn't going to be until December, he's speeding that process up, and he could be back by Thanksgiving, Joe Burrow. Is that a good move? I don't think so. Will his toe be ready? We'll see. However, Joe Burrow, as I said last week, has really let me down. I really wanted to see Joe do good, and he did do good for a little while, but now he's taken the Andy Dalton approach, and he's getting hurt when the season's not going right. However, the Bengals have started really good this season. So why rush it? I say let Flacco finish this season out, have Joe Burrow come back next season. But this is why I'm a fan on the sidelines and not the GM. We'll see how it works. Okay, so let's talk about Josh Allen a little bit. One of my favorite quarterbacks. He had the game of the year this year against the Buccaneers, and I'll get into that score in a little bit. But in that game, Josh Allen threw 6 total touchdowns against the Buccaneers. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. y'all, he had the game of the year for him this year. And I know that I've given him a lot of flack about how he's been playing. But that's because I'm a fan of his. And if I don't see the potential in that quarterback, I'm not going to get upset like I was with Ben Roethlisberger. I was never a fan of Ben, never a fan of Pittsburgh, but hey, I just didn't care. With Josh Allen, I saw the potential. I see the potential. He plays to his potential one week and then doesn't the next week. He needs to put it together and play to his potential every week. C.J. Stroud, I see the potential in him. He came out on fire, and he's still on fire until he got this concussion. Perfect example, Caleb Williams right now with Chicago. Chicago's doing good. I saw the potential in him, and I get so upset because he's not playing to his potential. Josh Allen, you played to that potential, and you played the way everybody wanted you to play on Sunday. Now, granted, you were playing the Bucs, who bring out the best in everybody, but you bring out the best in people too when they play you. And y'all, that was the game of the week. The Bills-Bucs was the game of the week, in my opinion. So, Josh, let's keep this going. Let's go to the playoffs. Let's possibly go to the Super Bowl. Although, y'all got a lot of work to do to get there. Y'all are second in the division. Patriots are first. I see the Patriots doing good things in the playoffs too. But anyway, moving on to the ejection and the suspension. So on Sunday, the Steelers played the Bengals. And in that game, Jalen Ramsey was ejected from the game for punching Jamar Chase. Now, that being said, all this stemmed because they say Jamar Chase spit on Jalen Ramsey. Not the first time this has happened. Week 1, Philadelphia player was ejected because he threw a punch at Dak Prescott because they said Dak spit on this player. Jamar Chase denied the fact that he spit on Jalen Ramsey, although the NFL has said the video proves that Jamar spit on him. So they suspended Jamar 1 game without pay for the incident. Honestly, I haven't seen the video. If you did it, if you didn't, I think both players should have been penalized. I think the ejection shouldn't have. I think Jalen Ramsey should have been suspended too for throwing a punch, because you don't throw a punch on the football field. That's just barbaric and it's uncalled for. Although spitting on a player is uncalled for too. So if you're going to suspend Jamar Chase for spitting on a player, suspend Jalen Ramsey for throwing the punch. And if they do that, and they suspend these players for punching other players, this will stop. So let's get that done. Let's get that in the rules that if you go punch a player, you're going to get suspended. If you spit on a player, you're going to get suspended. Plain and simple. Okay, moving on to some Aaron Rodgers news. And like I said earlier, another week, some more Aaron Rodgers news. And it kind of goes continuing from the last story, because Aaron is the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, and we were just talking about the Steelers. Well, in that game, Aaron Rodgers left the game with a wrist injury. Nobody knew how serious it was, or knows how serious it is. In my opinion, it's not that serious. Aaron Rodgers does this every year. Now, granted, Pittsburgh's first in the division this year. Don't know why, but they're first. And now Baltimore, since Lamar Jackson is back, are climbing the rails to be, nipping it the Steelers' heels to be first in that division. So, Aaron goes out, says he has a wrist injury. Mason Rudolph finishes the game. Pittsburgh ends up winning that game. On Monday, we find out Aaron Rodgers doesn't need surgery on that wrist. So, now, was his wrist injury really legit? Or was he faking it? I seem to think he was faking it, because if you have a wrist injury and those ligaments get messed up, you're going to need surgery. Again, go back to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had wrist surgery and he was out for the rest of the season. He had ligaments torn in his wrist and he was out for the season. It wasn't like, oh, Joe Burrow's got a wrist injury, but the x-rays are negative, so we're just going to see how he plays. No, if you have a wrist injury, you're out. You need surgery. You need out for the season. I think Aaron was faking. What do you guys think? If y'all watched the game, what do y'all think? Was he faking? Was he not? Is it legit? Who knows? Okay, we have a little bit of more breaking news going on here. The Saints are releasing veteran wide receiver, Brandon Cooks. Now, Brandon's been around. He's been with the Patriots. He's been with the Saints for a little bit. So, where does he end up, y'all? I know he kind of has had a back seat this year, but where does he end up? He could still be a top-tier wide receiver. Let's go. Okay, so now we're going to move into who I think the Coach of the Year candidate should be. And like I said earlier, I've only got two. But these two, y'all, are two of the best in my opinion. Obviously, I'm putting the 9-2 Patriots coach Mike Vrabel in that category with the turnaround that he has done with the Patriots to have for the Patriots to have 2 or 3 4-13 seasons to now be in 9-2. That's Coach of the Year worthy. Another coach that I see being Coach of the Year, at least in the conversation, is Ben Johnson in Chicago. He's got Chicago at 7-3, and he's having Caleb Williams play to his potential. Caleb Williams has had great game after great game this season. Yeah, they've only had 7 wins, but Caleb Williams is playing to the potential everybody wanted him to be. And he's playing to that number 1 overall pick. He's not turning into a Jamarcus Russell where it's like, oh, you're just going to be a number 1 overall bust. No, you're playing to that, and Chicago is leading their division and will make it to the playoffs if they keep up the way they're keeping up. The Patriots are the same way. The Patriots are at 9-2, and it's their first winning season since Tom Brady left. Mike Vrabel, you deserve Coach of the Year this year. If you were to put Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson as the only 2 candidates for Coach of the Year, I say Mike Vrabel. Not only because I'm a Patriots fan, but because he's fantastic. Him and Ben Johnson both have this camaraderie with their players that nobody else has, other than maybe somebody like Pete Carroll. But Pete Carroll's not in the Coach of the Year category because the Raiders are like 2-9 right now. 2-8, 2-9 this year. They're doing absolutely pathetic. But, again, the Raiders need a turnaround. And what that turnaround is, I don't know. In my opinion, it's a new quarterback. Geno had a great game on Monday night, but he's inconsistent. You need a consistent quarterback. And with minority owner Tom Brady in the lineup, let's see who you got, Tom. Who do you have in mind as a new quarterback? I say keep Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's not the problem. It could be Geno, it could be wide receivers, it could just be the ego. Who knows? What do you guys think? And who are y'all's Coach of the Year candidates so far? Okay, so now we're going to continue on in this Antonio Brown story. As I said last week, he was arrested on charges. Well, now it's come out that if Antonio Brown is convicted of these charges, he could spend 30 years in prison. Now, if you guys haven't looked up the Antonio Brown his charges, he was convicted of something pretty brutal at a nightclub back in April. And we're just going to say bang bang because we know what that is. He was charged with a bang bang charge back in April at a nightclub after a boxing match. And it wasn't a high stakes match. It was just like an amateur match. But as I said last week, Antonio Brown lost his mind. Has absolutely lost his mind. And I used to be a fan. In fact, I was thrilled when he went to the Patriots. I was thrilled when he went to the Buccaneers. Playing with Tom vouched for him. And he does all this. So, honestly, right now he's out of jail on bond, waiting for his trial date. But as far as I see it, he needs to be locked up because he's crazy. And he could use the plea of insanity, but that's a cop-out. Did you do it? Did you not do it? He's already pleaded not guilty to it. But all you football fans, what do you guys think? And I'm not convicting him before the trial. I'm just saying, if he's got issues like that, has he done other things in the past? Is this another Aaron Hernandez deal, just to a lesser extent? Because Aaron was crazy. And we're not going to get into all that, but he was, yeah. Moving on to some tennis news. Roger Federer, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, gets a Hall of Fame nomination his first year of eligibility. Roger Federer is one of my favorites, and I think he deserves it. Okay, moving on to some Week 11 scores in the NFL. We had Thursday night, the Patriots defeat the Jets 27-14, and that was Justin Fields' last game as a starter because this week Justin Fields was benched for Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor will start for the Jets on Sunday. So the Patriots improved to 9-2, defeating the Jets 27-14 on Thursday. On Sunday morning in Madrid, we had the Dolphins defeat the Redskins or the Commanders 16-13 in overtime. The Panthers defeated the Falcons in overtime 30-27, where Michael Penix Jr. went out of the game with that injury. The Bills defeated the Bucs 44-32 in the game of the week. The Texans defeated the Titans 16-13. The Bears defeat the Vikings 19-17. The Packers defeat the Giants 27-20. No big surprise. The Steelers defeat the Bengals 34-12. The Jaguars defeat the Chargers 35-6. What a shocker. The Rams defeated the Seahawks 21-19. And we finally saw the Sam Darnold that I thought everybody could see. He was 29 of 44, 279 yards, and 4 interceptions. That's right, I said it. 4 interceptions. And after that game, his players, we're rallying around Sam Darnold. Yeah, everybody has a bad game. Sam, we just see who you really are now. Y'all know I'm not a fan of Darnold. I think last season was a fluke, and this game right here proves it. So it's just amazing to hear how these players rally around Sam Darnold, where everybody has bad games, and you don't hear them say, "Oh, we're going to rally around Josh Allen because he threw 4 interceptions," even though he doesn't do that very often. This is just an example. Yeah, we know the players rally around the quarterback. So that doesn't make news. They're just doing it because they're protecting Sam Darnold's ego. Anyway, the Rams take over first in the division by beating the Seahawks 21-19. The 49ers defeat the Cardinals 41-12 in Brock Purdy's return to starter. He throws 3 touchdowns from his return from his toe injury as the 49ers cruise to a 41-22 win over the Cardinals. The Ravens defeat the Browns 23-16. In another great game, y'all, the Broncos defeat the Chiefs 22-19, and there's the example right there. Here's another one. Everybody says, we're going to rally around Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, y'all are 5-5. Y'all are mediocre, and we all know it now. This is what I've been saying since Patrick Mahomes started in the league. He's just a mediocre quarterback, and now we're seeing that. So the Broncos defeat the Chiefs 22-19. On Sunday night, we had the Eagles defeat the Lions 16-9. And on Monday night, we had the Cowboys defeat the Raiders 33-16. What were y'all's games of the week last week? Who were y'all excited to see? And did y'all's team win? Let me know. Okay, moving on to the Week 12 predictions. On Thursday night, we have the Bills at the Houston Texans. I'm taking the Bills. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Chicago Bears. I'm picking the Bears. We have the Patriots at the Bengals. I'm picking the Patriots. We have the Giants at the Lions. I'm picking the Lions. We have, in a division game, the Vikings at the Packers. I'm picking the Packers. Because even though I like J.J. McCarthy, I just don't see Minnesota doing it this week. I just don't see it. I think J.J. still needs some time to acclimate to the NFL. And that injury last season didn't help, where he was out all year with the ACL. It just didn't help. So I picked the Packers in that game. We have the Seahawks at the Titans. Just because I can't pull for the Seahawks, I'm picking the Titans, even though I'm going to take that loss because I think something's going to happen. And although anything can happen, Sam Darnold can go out there. I'm sorry, y'all. Sam Darnold could go out there and throw 4 interceptions again. And I hope he does. And I hope the Titans win that game. But I'm picking the Titans in that game. We have the Colts at the Chiefs next. I'm picking the Colts. We have the Jets at the Ravens. Now that one's going to be interesting because Tyrod Taylor's going to be at quarterback for the Jets. But in the end, I think the Ravens come out on top. We have the Browns at the Raiders. This is interesting, too, because this is Shadir Sanders' first game as a starter. But the Raiders and Geno Smith are struggling. Both teams are 2-8, but I'm picking the Browns in that game. We have the Jaguars at the Cardinals. I'm picking the Jags because the Cardinals just can't get it done this season. And yes, Jacksonville is inconsistent, but I think against the Cardinals, the Jags can do it. We have the Eagles at the Cowboys. I'm going to pick the Cowboys in the upset, y'all. I am. I'm going to pick that's a division game. They're playing in Dallas. That's going to be a hard game. I'm picking the Cowboys. We have the Falcons at the Saints in another division game. I'm picking the Falcons. On Sunday night, we have the Buccaneers at the Rams. I'm picking the Bucs in that game. And on Monday night, we have the Panthers at the 49ers. I'm picking the 49ers in that game. And as for bye weeks, we have the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Chargers, and the Redskins, or the Commanders. So, who are y'all's picks for this week? Drop them in the comments. Let me know who y'all like, who y'all don't like, what game you're excited about to see this week. Drop it in the comments, y'all. Okay, moving on to some music news. We have the CMA Awards Wednesday night, and Vince Gill is going to get the Lifetime Achievement Award, which I think is great. And if y'all don't know much about Vince Gill, I did a Who We're Listening To on him a few weeks ago, so go check that out. And he's just a fantastic 90s country artist who I think deserves the Lifetime Achievement Award. Okay, moving on to the Who We're Listening To segment. And who are we listening to this week? We're listening to Jason Aldean. He's a country artist out of Macon, Georgia. He started his music career in 1998. I found out about him in 2010 with his My Kind of Party album. He had his self-titled debut album sold like gangbusters because it was like nothing anybody had ever heard before. He's had 11 studio albums, 41 singles. He's had 26 number ones by himself, although he's had 30 number ones altogether. And you can find that on a CD on his 30 number ones album coming out in a couple days. He has 26 of his, plus a few that he's been on other songs, where he's been featured on other songs. He's had 37 music videos, one live album, which ended up being a CD DVD. His new album is called Songs About Us, which is going to be released in April of 2026. I'm excited about it. I know you guys are. I can't wait to get my hands on it. My favorite albums from him, because I like all his albums, but two of my favorites are Night Train and Highway Desperado. Night Train is one of my all-time favorite songs from him, and his Highway Desperado album has a song called Try That in a Small Town, which I think is an absolutely fantastic song. Yes, he got backlash for it, but it's a fantastic song. So, as for I'm going to switch it from songs to albums to listen to. I want you guys to listen to the Night Train album and the Highway Desperado album. Let me know what you guys think, and as always, in the comments, drop who you guys are listening to, what artist, what genre, what music groups y'all like, and you never know. They might show up in a Who We're Listening To segment. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend, and we will be back next week to go the distance. God bless.